We back with another one. This story comes out of Missouri, my home state. Let's get into it. 4 Missouri prison guards charged with murder, 5th with manslaughter and death of black man. Otho Moore Jr., 38, was pepper sprayed, had his face covered with a mask, and was left in a position that caused him to suffocate while in custody, according to complaint filed Friday. June 28th, 2024. This story is from the Associated Press. 4 Missouri prison guards were charged Friday with murder and a 5th with accessory to voluntary manslaughter in the December death of a black man who was pepper sprayed, had his face covered with a mask, and was left in a position that caused him to suffocate while in custody at a correctional facility, according to complaint filed Friday. A group of guards making up Department of Corrections emergency response team was sweeping one of the housing units for contraband on December 8, 2023, when Otho Moore Jr., 38, was pepper sprayed twice, then put in a spit hood, leg wrap, and restraint chair, according to a news release from Cole County Prosecuting Attorney Locke Thompson. Moore was then moved to a separate housing unit where he was left in the hood, wrap, and chair for 30 minutes. Thompson said multiple people heard him saying he couldn't breathe. Moore was eventually taken to a hospital wing and was pronounced dead. Thompson said the medical examiner ruled Moore's cause of death was from positional asphyxiation, and his death was listed as a homicide. He confirmed the events were captured on the prison's video surveillance system. After sitting down and reviewing all evidence, the dozens and dozens of interviews, all of the reports, we determined that charges were appropriate. An attorney for Moore's family, Andrew Stroth, has said Moore had blood coming out of his ears and nose. Does that happen when people suffocate? I don't know. I didn't know that. What it sounds like is somebody went upside his head. But let's continue. If anybody know if suffocating causes your ears and nose to bleed, put it in the comments, because that's the first time I heard that. There is a system, pattern, and practice of racist, unconstitutional abuse in the Missouri Department of Corrections, and especially within Jefferson City Correction Center, Stroth said, adding it's George Floyd 3.0 in a prison. The complaint charges Justin Leggings, Jacob Case, Aaron Brown, and Gregory Varner, each with 1 count of second-degree murder and 1 count of being an accessory to second-degree assault. A 5th guard, Brian Bradshaw, is charged with 1 count of accessory to involuntary manslaughter. Leggings and Case pepper sprayed Moore, and Brown placed a mask over his face, the charging document said. Varner and Bradshaw left Moore in a position that caused his asphyxiation, the complaint said. Those charged with felony murder could face 10 to 30 years in prison, Thompson said. Lawyers for Moore's mother and sister filed a lawsuit Friday against the officers and the Department of Corrections. The Moore family's lawyers described the Corrections Emergency Response Team as a group that uses coercive measures to brutalize, intimidate, and threaten inmates, in a copy of the lawsuit provided to AP. This attack on Otho Moore Jr. was not an isolated occurrence, but rather the manifestation of a barbarous pattern and practice fostered by the highest-ranking members of the Missouri Department of Corrections, lawyers wrote in the lawsuit. The Missouri Department of Corrections released a statement Friday saying Moore died in a restraint system designed to prevent injury to himself and others, and that the department has discontinued using that system. The Corrections Department also said after the criminal investigation and its own internal review, 10 people involved in the incident are no longer employed by the Department of Corrections or its contractors. The department said it would not tolerate behaviors or conditions that endanger the well-being of Missourians working or living in our facilities. The department has begun implementing body-worn cameras in restrictive housing units at maximum security facilities, starting with Jefferson City Correctional Center, to bolster both security and accountability. Oriel Moore, Otho Moore's sister, said her family never had a chance to see Otho Moore outside of prison after his childhood, adding to their heartbreak. He won't get to live his life. He doesn't even know what it's to be a grown man because he's been in there since he was a kid, Moore said. He had plans. He wanted to be a productive member of society. He matters. His life matters. Moore, who grew up in St. Louis, was serving a 30-year sentence on a range of charges. Thompson said he had heard only of one of the 5 defendants. Jacob Case had hired an attorney, but he could not identify that attorney. A voice message requesting comment from the Corrections Officers Union was not immediately returned Friday. My condolences to the family. This part of the system I haven't really talked about yet, but just like the police part and the judicial system, this part of the system is just as terrible. These conditions in these prisons are horrific, and the inmates are treated like they're less than human in many cases. These officers need 10 to 30 years. These spit bags they use, some people have problems with normally breathing, and when you put something over their face to restrict their oxygen intake, they could be in trouble real quick. And then not alone, you just pepper spray them twice, so you already can't breathe, and then you put a hood over his head. I don't know what's going on with the blood coming out of the ears. I guess I'll have to look that up to see if that's what happens when someone suffocates. Yeah, this system needs to be done away with. I'm not advocating for no jail sentences for crimes. It just should be more humane the way they treat these individuals. People make mistakes in life, and that doesn't mean they're less than human. Now, somebody that did first degree murder, intentionally murder someone, man, they could go. They really can. I say don't even waste the taxpayer dollars on them. You took someone's life, and no amount of time can replace what you took. So those individuals, hey, you got to go. In the article, it was talking how he had 30 years and they didn't really state what his crime was. In many cases, the media will jump on an individual that died this way. They'll list the crimes they did, whether they're in there for murder or armed robbery or something like that. So it wasn't mentioned, which leads me to believe he probably had a bunch of small time crimes that he done, maybe theft or drug possession or something like that. I'm not trying to put any aspersions on this man after he's passed, but in many cases when they don't say what he's in there for, that means it's some low level crime he's committed, and he's probably had a bunch of them, and that's why he's in there for 30 years. He got 3 felonies, and that's where the excessive sentence probably comes from. I hope this family sue him for every penny the state's got. This is my state, so. And that's one thing I dislike about these lawsuits. It just comes from the taxpayers. It's like when they F up like that, the taxpayers end up funding the lawsuit that the victim wins. Definitely something needs to change with all of these institutions out here. All of them. All right, we're going to close it out. Let me know what you think in the comments, and we'll see you on the next one.